Good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us here on the OzCro Soccer Show. It's the penultimate episode for 2024, our second last episode, and it's going to be a big one. And my name is Tonci Prusats, and a big welcome to Ante Grabovac. Good evening, Ante, all the way from the harbour city, God's land, promised land. Were you telling me off air? Down here in Victoria, it's just been one of those miserable wintry days, but it's meant to be spring. It's not.
No, it's quite sunny up here, and it was cold on Sunday, though. I had to go to Valentine's Park for a gala day for Adam, but everything else has been quite sunny and gearing up for summer, it looks like.
Well, speaking of gearing up for something, hi, folks, especially you interstate guests. I hope you're getting ready for the Australian-Croatian soccer tournament. You will need 4 seasons in one day type of wardrobe to get you through those 3 or 4 days down here.
But hey, you've got the Lakia there, so you don't need any.
That's right.
You don't need clothes.
Won't need to worry about it. But we got a big show tonight. Speaking of Croatian tournaments, tonight we've got a special report on the junior version. The Victorian Junior Crow Cup was held last weekend in my neck of the woods at North Geelong Warriors Soccer Club. We got a great little reportage, as they say, focusing on the littlies, the under-7s through to the under-13s. It was their time to shine. We'll also hear from the president of the North Geelong Warriors, Tom PAUSAK, as well. But a little bit closer to your home, Ante, we've got a very, very special guest from Sydney on tonight's show.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. First grade player, technical director. What doesn't he do for the club? Let me tell you, Paul GAGRO, talking all things Hurstville Zagreb. And yeah, it's been a great season for Hurstville Zagreb, and the club just keeps getting bigger and better each and every single year. And it's a record-breaking year for them. We'll chat more about it with Paul.
Yeah, that's coming on a little bit later on, so that should be fantastic. Can't wait for that. Heaps to get through tonight. What else have we got? We've also got Heartbeat of Football, a very special event happened on the weekend, also up in Sydney at Croatia Warrington. And Ante will give us a little bit more information about that a little bit later on in the news desk. And speaking of the news desk, straight after this, we've got the news desk. So, folks, don't go away. It is the OzCro Soccer Show that you are tuning into.
Who's to say who's young, who's old? Compared to who? Age is complicated. You see, most people really stop getting older at age 26. But their bodies just don't get the memo. So, hidden inside most over 50-ish-year-olds is the soul and spirit of a 26-year-old with the same loves and desires and hopes and dreams, just in slightly different packaging. Why waste time wondering when you could be enjoying? It's your life, and life is what you make it. So, what are you waiting for?
Ante, over to you, mate.
Yeah, thanks to Gem Life and all of our sponsors for this year for making the show possible. Torchy, not much news left around the country, but there are 2 big grand finals being played this weekend. One is in Canberra, where Canberra, Croatia will face the Tigers from Canberra. And so that is on Saturday night, 7 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. So Canberra, Croatia are at home as well. So perfect excuse for a party after the game. And before that, at 1 p.m., Canberra, Croatia are actually in the under-23s grand final as well against Gundarland. So, absolutely. Double celebration, hopefully. The good news for the first graders is that they have won 2 out of the 3 matches against Tigers this year, and the other one was a draw. So they're undefeated against the Tigers with a big 3-2 win in round 17, a big 3-1 win in round 10 at Deakin Stadium. And then in round 3, but that was a long time ago, it was a 2-2 draw. So, Canberra, Croatia definitely found some form towards the back end of the season and, bring on the grand final. And hopefully we can get someone on next week from Canberra and have, big party celebration scenes from the nation's capital.
Oh, wouldn't that be good, mate? I'll tell you what, but Canberra, Croatia aren't the only Croatian team in a grand final. There's another one, not sort of just around the corner and up the road and over the hills and sort of around that way. Yeah, kind of thing. Tell us more, mate.
Yeah, what's going on with the rest of the country? Only in, pretty much New South Wales, although ACT calls itself a different territory. We have a grand finals, and this is Newcastle, Croatia. The lads from Newcastle, fantastic. Josh Popescu and his team made their way into the grand final, and they will be playing against Southern United, who's a team from Foster, which is about 2 hours north, for those of you who don't know, from Newcastle. So this game will be played at Myer Park, 2:45 p.m. kickoff against Southern United. I don't know why they call it Southern United, but anyway. And then we've also got the reserves. So again, just like in Canberra, both grades are in the grand final, and this kickoff for the reserves is at 12:15, and they're playing against Crowdace. I don't know even how to pronounce that one. Crowdace Bay. I don't know.
How would you pronounce that? Crowdace Bay? Crowdace Bay?
Crudace. I don't know. Who knows? Hey, there's a crow in there.
There's a crow in there. There must be.
Crudace. I don't know what it is. But anyway, they are playing there at 12:15 with the reserves, 2:45 for the first grade. So, yeah, everyone in Newcastle and Canberra, get on down to the grand finals. It's never the same unless you're there at the game. So be at the game.
And there's a post there from Newcastle, Croatia, saying at the conclusion of the first grade fixture, we invite all Croatia supporters back to club sponsor, the Young Street Hotel there in Carrington. So hopefully not to drown the sorrows, rather to celebrate. We want to continue that celebratory kind of mood ahead of the Australian-Croatian soccer tournament. And next week we'll have a very special pre-Croatian soccer tournament edition, but we also hope to get both someone from Canberra, Croatia, and someone from Newcastle, Croatia. And what's the common denominator there, Ante?
Their names are Croatia. They brought back their own name.
Change your names to Croatia. Yeah. Next year you'll get in the grand final.
They're both undefeated against their opposition, because Newcastle as well defeated Southern United twice this year. So let's not have the grand final, whoops, we didn't come and perform on the day. Let's make sure everyone's up for it, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we said, on the weekend, the Victorian Junior Crow Cup was held. We're gonna have a little bit of a reportage a little bit after this, but there's the nuts and bolts of it. There are 9 different categories. St Albans Dinamo came away with 6 of those 9 categories. Strathmore Split came away with 2, and Dandenong City picked up 1 as well. So well done to those teams. But Ante, also Sydney United women did something very, very well on the weekend.
Yeah, they did. This is fantastic. All-age ladies Super League champions. So fantastic 3-2 win against the Fairfield Bulls, with Adelina Nedimovic getting 2 goals and, player of the match credentials. So very, very well done. So this is the Women's Super League Division 2 competition. And, they took away everything. Coach of the Year winners, Katerina Bonovis won the Super League Women's Div 2 MVP of the year. And, of course, Adelina Nedimovic won Player of the Match. So good stuff. And, like we spoke with the Gold Coast crew last week, the captain, women's football, and, like we'll probably be speaking with Hurstville Zagreb as well, women's football is exploding, and girls football. And so, get those boots on. Christmas presents. Don't just buy, the boots for the boys, buy the boots for the girls these days.
Boots for the girls as well, yeah. Now, speaking of our guest a bit later on, that's the technical director of Hurstville Zagreb, Paul GAGRO. The GAGRO dynasty there at Hurstville Zagreb continues. We're going to be speaking to him a little bit later on in the show. We've got a very, very special report of the Crow Cup coming up very shortly. Stay tuned for that. Despite the unseasonably wintry weather last Saturday, hundreds of players, coaches and families descended upon Alco Park on the northern outskirts of Geelong for the annual Victorian Junior Crow Cup, which this year was hosted by the North Geelong Warriors. While the spectators were happy to stay out of the cold and remain inside the North Geelong club rooms, or take shelter from the elements in the undercover grandstand area, the young players themselves were more than happy to have a kick without the fear of Baba or Dida yelling out "Pazi se cinco, prechladiće se." This year's event attracted a record number of mini-roos and junior teams, with just under 60 teams entered by the 5 Croatian community-backed clubs: North Geelong Warriors, St Albans Dinamo, Melbourne Knights, Strathmore Split and Dandenong City. As far as the on-field action was concerned, St Albans Dynamo's junior teams dominated proceedings, capturing first place in 6 out of the 9 age categories. The under-7 boys, the under-9 boys, the under-10 and 11 boys combined, the under-12 boys and under-13 boys, as well as the under-13 girls titles, which headed back to Churchill Reserve. Strathmore Split was next with 2 champions titles in the under-8 boys and under-11 girls categories, while Dandenong City's under-9 girls made sure the South Eastern Melbourne club didn't leave empty-handed, winning their age category. And of course, no such event would be a success without the hard work of the huge army of volunteers. Close to 90 in total who worked so hard to ensure everything went smoothly and that all the day's guests were well fed and hydrated throughout the day. In fact, according to the club, more than 500 chavapi rolls were sold, along with 600 buckets of chips, 120 bureks and the same amount of egg and bacon rolls, while just over 350 coffees were consumed. Not a bad effort.
We got the president here of North Geelong Warriors, and I guess the head of the organisers, but there's so many organisers behind the Victorian Crow Cup. Tommy PAUSAK. Tom, despite the early rain, the sun's come out, so it's turned out to be a fantastic day.
It has. Look, it's been amazing. True Geelong fashion, we've already had the 15 seasons in one day, but it's still good. Everyone here in good spirits. A record 64 games we've got here today. We've actually never had that in the history of our club, and that's a huge credit to all the clubs, Strathmore, North Geelong, St Albans, Dandenong City, Knights. Participation has been at record level, so wrapped.
Yeah, and the community side of things, I guess that's the most important thing. It's great to see the football on the field, but really it's the community side of it. And ahead of the Australian-Croatian Soccer Tournament in 2 weeks' time, I guess this is a Croatian tournament for the youngies, isn't it?
It is. But to put this together has taken a massive amount of volunteers. Everyone, all the parents are helping out, all the coaches. But I just want to send a big shout out to Dennis Vodapic, who's one of the main guys that put all this together. We call him the Rain Man. He's amazing with all the spreadsheets and schedules and fixtures, so he's been fantastic.
Now, we had Dennis on the OzCro Show last week, and he admitted that there were quite a few midnight working days, I guess, burning the midnight oil, just getting everything ready. In the end, it seems from outside looking in, looks like everything went smoothly. From the inside, how did it all go?
Look, it's good, really, really good. It's still a lot of hard work. The kitchen is, firing at all cylinders. The bar, it's good. The Croatians come with a big appetite. They're all thirsty as well, which is good. But no, it's been going good.
And for a lot of the non-Croatians, that this may be their very, very first experience with the Croatian community, they must be absolutely wrapped with everything.
They are. Look, they're blown away by the organisation, how organised everything is, how the spirit of the game is being played well. But they're loving it. They're loving the food. They love our cevapi here.
Well, Tom, we're going to let you get back to running the whole show and having a few celebratory drinks as well afterwards. But thank you for time.
Thanks, Tonchi.
Yeah, that was Tom PAUSAK, the president of the North Geelong Warriors, and what a fantastic job they did, and everyone involved there. And we'll put that graphic up again of the actual winners there. The under-7 boys, Dinamo. Under-9 boys, Dinamo. Under-10 and 11 boys, Dinamo. Under-12 boys, Dinamo. Under-13 boys, Dinamo. And the under-13 girls as well. And it was the under-8 boys and the under-11 girls, Strathmore split. And then the under-9 girls, Dandenong City. From
Taunchy, one important question is, how many cevapi rolls did you actually have at the event?
Me, I had about half. No, funny story. I had half, and here I'm sitting down with my son. He just finished eating. And I start talking, I lean over, and 2 cevapi just fell out in front of me. And I'm thought, do I implement that 6-second rule? Is it the 3-second rule? You know, like, and so I actually had half a cevapi roll. But, yeah.
That's not like you. Come
the
on.
birds and the pigeons had the rest.
At the tourney, you got to do better than that, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on, mate. From down south to up north. It was a pretty big event that happened on the weekend up there at the Warrington, Croatia. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. Our good friend from Heartbeat of Football, Andy Pascalides, was back at it again last weekend. It was another huge weekend for Andy's Heartbeat of Football and Heartbeat of Sport charity foundation, with 4 testing activations held in New South Wales and Queensland, which is fantastic. Andy and his team do a fabulous job. One of those was at Warrington Croatia Football Club's 2024 presentation day. As you can see, the cevapi there and the harmonica, everything's happening. Warrington is a member of the Nepean Football Association, and yeah, it's awesome down there at Boston Club. Of course, Dalmatino coming soon down there as well. This was all made possible courtesy of funding from the New South Wales Office of Sport. According to Andy himself, who posted this post up about the day out at Warrington on his various social media platforms, it's always an enjoyable experience catching up with old friends and making new ones. You know, Hrvatski Zet is Andy. Stay safe, stay healthy. Please ensure you get a regular checkup. Yes, please do follow Andy's advice.
Now, it's good to see that. It's good to see, Ante, that it's not just the ladies that are getting checked. There's a lot of blokes there as well, and we're renowned for sort of like, you know, closing the eyes and putting our fingers in our ears and trying to make it go away of its own accord. But, you know, health issues often aren't going to. So what Andy does and what the Heartbeat of Football does there, he's the legend himself.
Legend himself. Hey, Johnny. Not Johnny. It's Zivkovic. Absolutely. Mila Zivkovic. Absolutely. I'm getting excited. I know people in the video.
Fantastic to see. And it also seems that like it was a really, really good day there up there at the Warrington Croatia Football Club. Some of the blokes comparing their health results with a bottle of beer. Always a good thing. Just wash it down, and might be either good news or some bad news. But nonetheless, it's worth celebrating. Maybe things went really well. So that's probably what was happening there.
So big events happening at Boston Club as well as Dalmatino. Major Minor are coming up. Your boys are coming up to Sydney. First time in a long time, so that'll be exciting.
Yes, it should be good.
October 5, that'll be good.
Mickey Cholina and co. Should be a good night there. All right, we're going to take a little very short break, a jingle break, so to speak, and we're going to turn our attention, our focus to what is happening overseas. Lots happening at the moment, folks. Don't go away. All right, folks, let's first of all start with what is going on down very, very in the wee hours, or not so much the wee hours, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. The first round of the Champions League, Dinamo Zagreb taking on Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena.
The new format of the Champions League, right, Tonchi?
Yeah, 5 a.m. kickoff, Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you've got Stan Sport, you'll be able to watch it. Or if you've got IPTV and Croatian television news and all of that sort of stuff, then that you'll be able to get that. So, yeah, look, I think, all Croatian supporters All normal Croatian supporters will be going for Dinamo Zagreb in Europe because obviously, apart from they're representing Croatia as well, the coefficient, as they call it. How do you say that in English? I don't know, the percentage, the coefficient. I'm not sure. How does that?
Yeah,
Just the ratings, the rankings. It lifts our performance up as well. So
didn't every team get €1 million as according to Dinamo's
Something like that.
performance? Yeah, which
Just
you
for
know,
them
there were those great
qualifying.
shirts with Hajduk and sponsored by Dinamo going
Yeah.
around social media. If you saw that.
Yeah. Now, before we turn our attention to what is happening locally, we had a little bit of the futsal. The World Futsal Cup kicked off during the week. Unfortunately for Croatia, it wasn't the best start. Came up against Thailand, and we might sort of say, well, who's Thailand? But in futsal, a lot of the Asian countries are actually quite big. And look, I love futsal. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But in a lot of countries, in most countries, futsal is actually considered, a different sport. A lot of the people that play futsal play it professionally. They don't play outdoor. Some of them maybe play outdoor just for hobby's sake. But there's a Croatian attempt at goal. At that stage, it was 1-0 to Thailand. And there's another miss. So they were creating chances in the end. And we're going to stay with this because this may have been... No, it wasn't the second goal, but that's coming up now for Thailand. There we go. The second goal. And then Croatia as well. Consolation goal in the end comes shortly after this. Big gap there in the Croatian defence. So Croatia will be coming up in round 2. They'll be coming up against one of the heavyweights. And this is the goal for Croatia. Great goal on the side there. Excellent work there. So Croatia now will be coming up against Brazil. The mighty Brazil, the Samba boys. And that's going to be happening, when's that coming up? Very shortly, in the next Wednesday, tomorrow. Actually, I think it's tomorrow night, in fact. And then on Friday evening, they come up against Cuba. So, look, we've still got a very, very good chance of being able to make it through to the second round. But that first game, that loss against Thailand, was certainly one that cost us. Now, remember, Ante, it's the first time in 24-odd years or something like that Croatia has qualified for a futsal World Cup. So futsal is starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger in Croatia. It's still not, I guess, where we'd like it to be, but it is definitely getting... it's starting to become... Well, it's effectively overtaken basketball, and I think I've said this on this show before, as the biggest indoor sport in Croatia at the moment. So futsal is certainly growing in Croatia. All right, let's now turn our attention to the local league, the Croatian Premier League. Dinamo lost to Hajduk, yes, 1-0.
Good for the league. Good for the league, I think.
It's good for the league. It is indeed good for the league. Marco Oliveira.
Great goal. Did you see the goal?
Yeah, he did. It was
fantastic. Over the top through ball and then Oliveira. Great.
Let's be honest. Hajduk was very lucky. Very lucky.
Dinamo dominated, yes, but they scored the goal, and there's already calls for Oliveira to be called back into the national team.
Yeah, well, 65% of the possession was enjoyed by Dinamo and only 35%. But I guess it's what you do with the ball, not so much you always have, but the possession. Hey, word of advice for the Australian game. Here we play too much possession, and we don't really do anything about scoring. And I think that always costs us. Hence the Socceroos, hence the Matildas, hence everyone else. But anyway, moving on. Istra hosted Lokomotiva, and it was the Zagrebčani that came away with a 2-0 win. Gorica hosted Rijeka, and Rijeka defeated Gorica to shoot to the top. They've got a better goal difference than Hajduk. So, look, it is an interesting, definitely at the moment, a three-way competition for that top spot. But also Šibenik, who they've also got an opportunity to go close there, as did Varaždin, but they fought out a 0-0 draw. And I guess that's probably indicative of maybe where they are. They're sort of in the middle of the table, which is good for both teams. Šibenik, newly promoted, and Varaždin, one of the teams that probably has got one of the smallest budgets in the Croatian league, but they've also got a very, very fanatical supporter base, and probably one of the best supporter bases outside the Big Four, Rijeka, Hajduk, Dinamo, and of course Osijek. And speaking of Osijek, it was good to see Osijek win their first game of the season, 1-0 over fellow cellar dweller Slaven Belupo. Fixtures for this weekend coming, round 7, Varaždin taking on Istra at home Saturday morning. Then on Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. our time, Slaven Belupo hosting Dinamo Zagreb. And then Hajduk Split taking on Gorica. It'll be interesting to see how Dinamo does fare after their game against Bayern Munich. I mean, they'll have had 5 days rest or something like that, so that shouldn't be an issue. But we've seen in years gone by when Dinamo are playing in the Champions League as well as obviously the local league, their focus does tend to stray a bit, and this is that opportunity for teams like Rijeka, Hajduk, and even Šibenik to get that bit of an advantage over Dinamo. Monday morning, Lokomotiva at home to Osijek, and then Rijeka taking on Šibenik. That could be a big, big tough game. Now, Ante, this was an interesting little aftermath of the game in Zagreb. Some bright spark went on Google Maps and somehow managed to rename Maksimir to Šetalište Marka Livaje. So the replay of Marko Livaja. Well, that was quite amusing, I thought. But
and what was there? 78 minutes of extra time because of the flares and stuff?
Yeah, I know. Silly. Anyway, if you are interested in another, almost like another perspective on the derby, English YouTuber Thogden, young fella who goes around all of Europe. He's a real YouTuber that makes, I don't know, must make a living out of it. And he goes all around Europe visiting all the derbies around the continent and visiting stadiums and this. And he's recorded a little documentary from the Hajduk Dinamo game, and he was caught in a bit of a kerfuffle there in the Western Stand, where about 30-odd supporters tried to storm the Hajduk Split VIP section. They were unsuccessful because Silvio Maric, who actually appears in the YouTube clip earlier, actually tries to pacify the Dinamo fans. And of course, Silvio Maric is a well-known Dinamo legend. But apparently based on his YouTube, then all the Croatian media started reporting about it. Otherwise, they probably would not have done so. Anyway, moving along into the Prva Liga, so the first league. Let's have the graphic up. There we go. And round 5 was played over the weekend. Zrinski Osječko lost to Croatia. Dugopolje drew with Sesvete. Cibalia have also dropped a few points in recent weeks, drawing against Orient 1-1 at home. Dubrava lost to Vukovar. This was a big game. Vukovar now have gone 5 games and undefeated and have not dropped any points. So they are on top of the competition standings, 5 points clear of the big surprise packet, Opatia, promoted from the third tier competition. They've already 3 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss, and the same as Sesvete, and they occupy second spot. Rudeš managed to win their second game on the trot since securing their new coach, Samir Toplak, who's a bit of a legend around Zagreb circles. So there you go. And the Druga Liga sees Bjelovar on top with 4 wins from their opening 4 games. Mlado Zdralovi and Solin, who was relegated from the Prva Liga, they find themselves in equal second spot with 9 points apiece. Can't just talk about the men, we've got to talk about the women as well. The Croatian Premier League, the women's competition, got a bit of a surprise here because we've got Ženski Nogometni klub Agram, which is based at the at Hrvatski Dragovoljaca's ground in Novi Zagreb, aptly named Stjepan Spajić Sportski Centar. Well, they defeated Hajduk Split 4-2 at Stjepan Spajić Soccer Stadium. That's a mouthful, isn't it? In other results, Osijek defeated Dinamo in Zagreb 2-1. Split defeated my team, Neretva, 5-0. I don't think Neretva has scored a goal yet in the opening 3 rounds. And Međimurje Čakovec had a massive 8-2 win over Gorica. So if we have a quick look at the ladder before we go back to the fixtures, Agram are on top with 9 points, followed by Hajduk, Split, Međimurje, and Osijek, who has a game in hand, on 6 points. Dinamo on 3, Split on 3, they've got a game in hand. Neretva on no points, and Gorica also on no points. So if we look at the fixtures coming up this weekend, Split at home to Gorica, Hajduk at home to Međimurje, should be a good one. Osijek taking on Agram. Osijek, the undisputed heavyweights of women's football in Croatia, taking on Agram. That should be a corker of a game, a real classic, that one, and it should really indicate how much of a contender Agram really is for the crown. So that coming up this weekend. And across the border, we go over to the BiH Premier Liga. Results of the games played. Željezničar have defeated Goš. That's 6 losses from their opening 6 games for the Croatian border team. Zrinski drew. Yeah, not good. Zrinski drew 1-1 with Borac Banja Luka, the reigning champions, in Mostar. Široki Brijeg lost to Sloga Doboj 1-0. That's not a good result. They're all Sloga getting their first win of the season. Sarajevo and Posušje fought out a 2-2 draw. Good result there for Posušje. And we look at the ladder. Sarajevo on top with a game in hand. They're on 13 points, as is Željezničar, followed by Posušje. Now, Zrinski making a big, strong return, 3 wins and 1 draw. They've got a game in hand over Sarajevo. And
but 2 games in hand overall, so they should.
Yeah, and then Borac Banja Luka, they've only played 3 games, and they too are undefeated.
What's going on? Why can't they play over there? Far out. Come on.
You know what it is? Unlike the Croatian League, they've actually said if they're playing in Europe, they're allowed to have postpone their games. And this is what we saw in the Croatian League last year, was it becomes a bit farcical. Some teams have played, in this case, 6, some played 5, some played 4, and some played 3. And you don't really get a good, accurate picture of where everything is. So the Croatian League is a little bit innovative in the region, at least. So they're doing something right. And they're just saying, look, you can play games on a Friday night, or you can play your games a little bit later on, or whatever, but there are going to be no postponements. So, well, I guess now it only affects Dinamo Zagreb, doesn't it? So, but they've got a big enough depth, I suppose. Yeah. Now, Ante, before we do finish up with the Croatian scene, this is a photo which came out just a few hours ago, and I am sure this will excite a lot of people who follow Croatian football, especially Dinamo Zagreb fans, because the Bulldozers are out. They're out. Yes, they're out at the Kranjčević Road Stadium, and they are starting demolition. And what does that mean? That means that the Kranjčević Stadium, which is going to be the temporary home of Dinamo Zagreb until Maksimir gets built. Remember, this stadium has to be built first, or rebuilt first, before Maksimir can be demolished and a new Maksimir rise like a phoenix from the ashes, but it's a start. Now, it's easy to demolish in Croatia, not easy to build. So let's see how long it actually takes before they finally get everything done. But so look, that's going to be the case, and hopefully we will see some progress there, and that'll be great to see, won't it?
Yeah, finally, absolutely. We need more stadiums like Osijek's, let me tell you. Opus Arena.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the Croatian football scene. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, it's time for our very, very first guest tonight, Paul GAGRO. He is the technical director of Hurstville, Zagreb, and Ante and I caught up with him a little bit earlier tonight, so stay tuned for that. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Football Outwear Show. It is good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Good evening, folks, and on that very, very boisterous introduction, welcome to the OzCro Soccer Show. Good evening, folks, and welcome to yet another episode of Dinamo TV.
Brings me great pleasure to introduce a very special guest to the show this evening, the one and only technical director of Hurstville Zagreb. There's a lot to talk about because it's been a history-making season for the boys at Zagreb. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Paul GAGRO. Paul, hello.
Deserves a bit of a round of applause after that. Hey.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate that intro, Ante.
No problem. You must be proud of what's happened at NPL level this year. It's been a history-making season, hasn't it?
It has, mate. It has. It's been a tough year. A lot of work gone into it, but it's it has been a bit of history-making, which I'll get into in a second. But we've done well, club championship-wise, particularly for the youth. A few teams in finals, under 16s, minor premiers, which is, as you said, history for the first time. So we've only had a youth program for. It's our 5th year now, so it's still a very young program. So, on the journey, it was a bit of a hard first couple of years because we started up and the first 2 years were COVID. So we're just sort of getting our name out there, which I think I've mentioned to you guys in the past.
Yeah.
So those 2 years were real difficult, but the last 3 years we've had some amazing growth and all leading up until this sort of year where it's sort of really kicked off for us and we've been in a promotion battle in club championship. So finished 4th, which is good. I mean, we obviously have our goals to get promoted. So we're not ecstatic with it, but we are happy to take another step in the right direction. So I think 3 years ago we were sort of mid-table, last year 6th, 7th, and then this year finished 4th. We're in a promotion battle up until I'd say about a month before the season wrapped up. And I think it was amazing. It was good fun. I think the boys really enjoyed it. They sort of fed off each other's energy, held each other accountable. It was good fun to be in that battle. Obviously Parramatta and Gladesville went up. And fair play to them. They sort of ran away with a bit at the end, but we're in the mix, I guess, until I'd say about 3 or 4 weeks in the season to go. And you mentioned the 16s were the premiers. Of course, they've got a big grand final this weekend as well, so that's another hopefully cause for celebration as well. Exactly. So look, they've done amazing, that group. That's probably I like to talk to them as sort of the blueprint of what we try to do. I mean, that group came together in the 13s and. Bobby, he started, you know that very well, Ante, Coach Liam, in the 16s on the inaugural year. That was a tough year for the boys in the first year, but then he... But for the parents as well, Paulie, let me tell you. I think they won the last game of the year, which is amazing, right? So I think, I spoke to Bobby at the time and I sort of said, look, let's do a project together. We saw like a lot of value in his coaching. He's really driven. He's been great. So we started the journey. He took over our 13s and a lot of the boys now in our 16s, our core group came there then. So it's been 4 years in the making. Obviously players have come and gone, but that core group has stayed together and each year they've just seen improvements. Last year they finished 2nd, got knocked out in the semis. And then this year they went one better, bought us our first minor premiership, which was obviously extremely exciting. And then on the weekend they got the job done and they scored, I think, about a tough game against Gladesville, but scored with about 10 minutes to go. Lucas Christou got the goal there and it took us to our grand final, which is on Sunday this week.
Yeah. Now, Paul, you mentioned how it's been quite a phenomenal rise, particularly in the last 3 years in the area of junior development. And has it been part of a kind of a long-term plan, a strategic plan at the club, or is it something that you kind of go year by year, but you've been caught off guard maybe by the rapid growth in such a short time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, look, every club has to have their own strategy. I don't know what other clubs are, but for us, it's just been, look, let's just work hard. I mean, we're a family culture club. I think everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. I think that's come through really well. But I think our first and foremost, what we want to do is have our retention rates high. I mean, it's very difficult at times because we've taken players from club football, for example, and we've seen their development come through in a year or two. And sometimes those players go and retention is really difficult. But we've seen players actually say no to clubs in higher leagues and wanting to stay with us because they believe in the project. So for us, I mean, to summarize it, I think, the strategy is retention rates that need to be high, keep our best players, keep development high, and obviously bring players in that can complement those players. And that sort of looked after itself. So our retention rates last year were fantastic. We expect it to be fantastic again going into next year. And then, because we've done some good work and we've done it in the right way, I believe, every club has their way, but I think the way we've done it, people appreciate, and we've got a good sort of reputation in the football community. I think that's really gone out there. So now, in the first couple of years, I used to have to sort of sell the project to players and say, look, come across, give it a chance. Now it's a big luxury to have where players are choosing us, before a lot of other clubs, and that's been amazing. So they want to play for Zagreb before they play in other clubs in the league in NPL3, and even in some cases before NPL2 clubs. So I think all that hard work, it didn't happen overnight, but I think we're starting to reap the rewards of that now. So keeping our best players, bringing some good players to complement that, and then obviously just growing year by year. And I think that's really come to fruition, and that's been our strategy for the last few years. And
yeah, it's really noticeable, Paul, where basically the season finished one weekend. We had the presentation night the weekend later, and then, you telling us, I can't do this, can't do that because we're already making selections. So it's like a 52 weeks a year job being a technical director these days.
Oh, mate. You know what? This is the busiest time of year. And the better job you do now, the easier it is moving forward. I mean, you want to bring as much quality into the club as you possibly can, but this is really difficult. And look, I mean, we can touch on the sort of next year later, but I mean, yeah, as I said, the better job you do now is going to put you in good stead moving forward. The difficult part for us is clubs are going really early now. So I don't know if this is across the country. I don't know, but
yeah, that's a good point. I think it is. I think it's happening right across the board that before the current season's even finished, clubs are already planning for 2025. So you've got to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. Eh?
Exactly. And the difficult part with that is because we've had a good season and because we've been in a promotion battle, I want the boys to be focused on that and so forth. But other clubs are going early. And no disrespect, but they don't have semi-finals to play for. We had minor premierships up for grabs. We had potential promotion up for grabs. And they go early and because they don't need to worry about, annoying their players, because potentially causing rifts in the squad of who's Mauritanian, who hasn't. And then because people talk at school, players or whatever it is, then they come and say, well, what's our position for next year? And I'm supposed to say, just focus on the task at hand and the rest will look after itself. But I get it. Players and parents want to know where they stand. So for us, it's been very, very, very difficult this year to manage because of our success. And we've never been in this position to say, well, no, we don't want to do too much because we want the boys focused on winning trophies and bringing stuff to the club that we work so hard for, and also having a push for promotion. And we don't want to cause rifts in the dressing room and so forth because some players retain, some players don't have an answer yet. There's no right way to go about it, really. We've just tried to manage it, but it's very difficult. So that's been a big challenge for us, probably our biggest challenge this year. But I think we've done it pretty well. And I said, we've obviously got a team in the grand final. Almost had two. Our 14s were up against Gladesville, who were first, and we came fourth. Very, very tough game. Robbie Hooker's the coach there at Gladesville Socceroo, I think. So they won 25 out of 28 games, and the boys did amazing. I thought we were the better team, actually. We had two big chances late in the game, and then it went to extra time and they took it in the second half. So almost had two teams in the final, which would have been obviously even more history. But yeah, still very proud. But yeah, look, that's been a big challenge for us. And you're right. I mean, the phone hasn't stopped in the last 2-3 weeks, maybe longer. Already today I've had 20 phone calls. I'll probably have another 20 every night's football. But yeah, look, it's good fun. It's all for the club and making sure we're in a good position next year.
I want to ask. Sorry, Auntie, go, Auntie.
No, I was going to say, so give us a wrap-up of first grade and 20s as well, Paulie. Of course, you're a first grade player as well, so you're just surrounded by football.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's probably too much, to be honest, Auntie. But yeah, I do love the club, and I've sort of said to them, we probably need to bring a few more resources in because I don't know how sustainable this is. But I do love the club, of course, and I'll do what I can to make it grow and get to bigger and better things. So yeah, look, first grade was first grade and 20s. Oddly enough, we had Dovald, who you guys have had on the show, actually. Dovald, obviously ex-professional, big name. He was coaching us. And unfortunately, we just didn't have a good start to the year. And I can't really explain it to you. You sort of had to be there to see it. We had an amazing preseason. We were beating all NPL2 sides. We were coming in really with a lot of confidence. We lost our first game to Jets, who obviously got promoted, undefeated. Really, really good side, don't get me wrong. But we won all with them with about 70 minutes away from home. We lost 3-1 in the end. But a lot of close games just didn't go our way, and we ended up losing our first 5 games of the year, which was a mountain to climb, Obviously, it's only first past the post gets promoted, second gets a playoff here in New South Wales. So don't get me started on that format. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, you've got 15, 16 teams from a 30-week season. And if 2 teams run away early, it's very hard to keep everyone else engaged. There's no finals. I think I heard that Victoria were potentially doing a top 6 format with engaging more teams, which I think makes so much sense. Anyway, we'll park that. But I guess, we had a bad start. So I think after 8 rounds, we were dead last. We lost our first 5 games, 6 of 7. And unfortunately, we had to move away. Doubled and the club had a chat and we agreed to part ways. Doubled as a champion. It was a shame. He's done a lot of good for the club, but I think the style probably wasn't conducive to the league and some of the players we had. So ultimately, we decided to part ways. After that, we actually won, I think, 4 or 5 games in a row. We went on a good streak there. Then we had a bit of challenges mid-year with some injuries and so forth, and it was a bit up and down. Brought a couple of boys in on the window and then sort of recovered. So we ended up finishing 7th, which of course is nothing to brag about. We're not proud of that, but I guess we had a respectable coming from 15th to get to 7th by the end of the year. I think if you look at it from round 8 onwards, that's not a small sample size. That's still over 20 games. I think we won a lot more games than we lost, and we'd probably be a top 5 side in that period. So we beat a lot of the top teams. So the foundations were really good. We brought some young players in from higher leagues. They'll be better for the experience. The vibes were really good at the end of the year. The boys were really confident. We held each other accountable. We sort of did it in-house and said, we're in this mess and we'll get out of it together. And I think we set some really good foundations, not just on the field, but off it. So it's really exciting times again, which we can touch on later of what's next. But whilst it was a challenging year, it was really good to keep the boys engaged. And they recovered well from that. And I think 20s were sort of in a similar situation. 20s is a tough league. It's really, really tough because, again, they don't count the club championship here in New South Wales. So, and they don't have finals, which again is just crazy to me because how do you keep them engaged? We understand it's a development, age for first grade, but again, those boys want to compete. That's what we're all there for. We want to compete and win games. So I think they need to engage them a little bit more for someone to play for. But Dave and Kroom did a really good job. Our coaches and the culture was strong there, and I think they finished in the top half of the table, mid-table, top half. But again, they had a bit of a slow start too, but they recovered. And a lot of those boys, which I should definitely mention, got first grade opportunities because we had a lot of off-field issues this year with injuries and travel and things of that nature. So 18s and 20s boys got a lot of first grade opportunities, which is again always important for development.
Okay. Yeah, I got heaps of questions. Don't you worry about that. Paul, I'm really interested to get your opinion on this. Down in Victoria, we've got 5 Croatian-backed clubs, and 3 of them are in the NPL competition. One, North Geelong, was in the tier below, but now they're going to be 2 tiers below. In Sydney, we've got 2 clubs, obviously Sydney United and Zagreb Hurstville. In your opinion, is that enough? Do we need more? Would it be great to have a 3rd Croatian club in that NPL system, or is 2 enough and the resources aren't too stretched?
It's a really good question, and one I think about. I mean, I'm very jealous of Victoria to have. I think it was only a few years ago to have 4 teams in that tier. That's phenomenal. I think that's a testament to the community down there and what you guys are doing. I think, look, given obviously Sydney United out west, we're in a different sort of demographic as well. So I think 2 makes sense. It does, and I think we need to do a better job of engaging the community. And I think we're starting to do that as well. And I think we need to get up into at least NPL 2. I think our goal is to be a sustainable team in NPL 2. NPL 1 is a bit of a stretch for us at this stage because the money and the funding in those clubs is we're just miles.
And that was going to be my next question. Where do you see Zagreb in the pecking order? So kind of NPL.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think in youth, I mean, we've done really good things as we touched on, and we want to get promoted, and we expect to in the next couple of years. I think we'll be disappointed if we don't. And I mean, youth is a completely different story. So we can go as far as we need to. There's no reason why we can't get to the top league there one day. First grade's going to be a little bit different and difficult unless we get some more funding in, and that's coming through. Our facilities are top now, and that's really changed our club in the last couple of years. I mean, Ante, you've been to Penshurst many times, and you see that. I mean, it's got 4 dressing rooms, medical rooms. I mean, obviously synthetic pitch. It's allowed us to have a proper elite program now. Training nights at Penshurst, we've got proper strength and conditioning. We've got, return to play for injured players, goalkeeper training. Like it's become a proper standard of football, which we never had before. So that's been a big plus for the club. But I guess we're still a little bit away from a resourcing perspective.
Are there club rooms there? Sorry, just out of interest, are there like club room facilities there, or something where you can have, after training get together, or match days get together, etc.?
There is. Look, there's not a huge sort of, there's a hall next door to a community center. So that would have to be rented out. I mean, most of what we do is in the dressing rooms, obviously big, and we've got offices and stuff there, medical rooms. There's a small sort of section up there where we have our sponsors and so forth, but it's not the biggest area for sort of functions and things like that. So we typically do that, off-site. But we do it at Cars Park, which is obviously a grassroots facility that we've been there for a long time. But that's a bit of an issue in itself, which my dad's probably the best person to talk to. There's a lot of work going behind the scenes there to get funding for redevelopment of those amenities there. That's also linked to a whole, I could talk about this for hours, so I won't bore you too much with the details. But there's a funding issue there because it's linked to the pools there. So there's used to be pools which contaminated the soil, and there's a big thing in council of what they're going to do there. Right. So they basically said to us, until that's sorted in terms of what we're going to do there, we can't. You're sort of linked to that. In saying that, we can also look at that as another opportunity, because I think that's what the club are doing and saying, well, if that's going to be redeveloped, they can potentially redevelop our fields. We can look at additional amenities, clubhouses, and so forth, because that's really what the club needs. I mean, the dressing rooms and the facilities there they're poor. Yeah, Cars Park, they're really, really poor. So Penshurst is great, but we do share that with St George, and I guess that's the issue of why we can't. We've got storage where we have all our gear and so forth. We've got canteen facilities, but we share it with St George City, who are in NPL 1. So we can't just take over that whole premises. It's a shared premises. So
talking to a lot of the association coaches over the weekend, they were talking about how many trainings had to be cancelled, etc., because of you just can't. Once there's a bit of a kiss show or something, forget about it,
Exactly. It's terrible. So we get a few of the association teams on at Penshurst. I mean, that's been sourced through NPL, but we do share that with our association teams, especially the young ones, to get them on there once a week. And then also we get Penshurst Park, which is non-synthetic, and we get some association teams there on there as well. So we try to do what we can, but until we fix Cars Park, it is a big problem. But to go back to your other question, look, I think there's two Croatian teams there. C United obviously have been the pinnacle and have been in NPL 1 and have been there forever, and I'm sure they will be, and obviously B League and whatever else comes there. But I think for us, I think we want to continue to grow, engage the community more, and get up into NPL 2, and I think that will help engage the community more and more and more. So look, in terms of another team coming in, there's no issue. Why not? I don't know where that sort of fit in, what demographic makes sense. Maybe is it South Coast United? Maybe they could come through, but there is two teams in Wollongong now, so I don't know if the NPL has appetite for another team. So it just depends what demographic. But I think, look, ultimately, Victoria is the blueprint for that. I mean, as I said before,
I guess there's pros and cons. Some people down here say that the resources are stretched, thin, and between supporters go back to their own little clubs and things like that. And I guess until there is a national division or national second division, where, say, for example, maybe the Knights can once again rise to sort of the top, and then everything feed from that. But it's just an interesting question, I figure.
It is.
But, look, the other question I wanted to ask, Paul, was we talk about the NPL element of the club. We also talk about the association, the St George district, which is kind of, I guess, the community side of it. When you put it together, what are we talking about? Like number of players that the club has?
It's a good question. I think it's about 500-600 players collectively.
Wow.
I think the NPL has about 120, 130 from 13s to first grade, and then obviously, the association grassroots when you count all the kids, women's football, the non-comp competition, the over 45s, all of that together. It's close to 600 players, which is huge.
How is women's football going there? I mean, last week we had from Gold Coast Knights, we had the Amy Morland, the captain there, and they're doing a really good job there. Obviously, we've seen Canberra, Croatia do extremely well over the last few years in their NPL setup. But I'm intrigued to find out how's the women's setup going at Zagreb Hurstville.
Yeah, good. I think like any club, it's probably one of our fastest growing areas. I mean, women's football in the whole country has gone crazy, which is fantastic. So it's definitely been growing. I think there's more growth to go. I think I saw Stefan Perak, who's first grade vice captain. He coaches his daughter's team now, a group of girls coming through down to sixes. So there's constantly, girls teams coming through. It's just, it's the fastest growing area of the club, and I think it will continue to be moving forward. We don't have NPL women's. We don't have the facilities for that. Some clubs have both. I don't know if DC United have women's either. But we don't have an NPL women's team at this stage. And I mean, there was appetite within the St George region to get that, and I think St George were looking at it. I think St George FC have it, but St George City don't. So we're a bit away from that. But the women's football and the grassroots is going great, and I think there's a lot of growth there to come.
The 16s girls made the grand final in the association with Dean Chalina as coach.
Dean Chalina, exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think that's the second year maybe they made the final. I can't remember exactly, but they seem to always be there or thereabouts. So he's doing a good job there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, before we wrap up 2024, Paul, you had a quite emotional farewell and retirement, didn't you?
Don't bring it up, mate.
Oh, jeez. Now, well, it's hard, right? Your players you've grown up with, starting to retire. So
yeah, that's right. I don't know how far away I am. We'll see how the body holds up this year. But
you've still got a few more years, all right? Okay.
2 more years gets me to 15 years in first grade, so I think that makes sense. But we'll see if we can get there. But Stefan Perak, we started playing together at 5 years old here at Zagreb, become best mates, Kumovi, and a group of us actually played together most of our lives and playing into first grade. So he's been with first grade. Basically, we played together our whole lives, and he hung up the boots this year, and he's been a big part of the club. So as you saw Ante the other week, it's quite emotional for us because I mean, it's not the end. Of course, we'll go play over 35s together. There's tournaments. There's a lot of stuff, but it was hard for me because it's we played together since we were 5. So to not have him there on the field next year will be tough for me and the boys, because the boys love him. But it
was incredibly special to see, what the club and everything, through his life meant to him. He said, he had more difficulty speaking, and talking about his time at Zagreb than he had, speaking at his own wedding and stuff. And, and obviously the emotion I saw from you as well and other players was just great to see. And like we mentioned, Zagreb being the family club, I mean, it really is. And that was a very special moment.
It was, yeah. And look, just to add to that, I mean, I think like someone like Stefan and, other players like that, they're the players that have got the club to where it is. I mean, realistically, 10 years ago, the club was in a bit of a crossroads. There was no funding. We didn't have fields. We moved off from Hurstville Oval. We had to sort of rent, we had to sort of rent fields, and it was quite difficult, right? So players like Stefan never took money from the club and just played for free, played for love. And, now the club's growing and it's all fantastic, but it's people like him that got the club to where it is today. So we need to show a lot of appreciation for that. And he's a club legend, and there's a lot of players like him.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Jets before, obviously being promoted, which probably is, good in a way because they're out of it, right? We've just got all the traditional teams back in NPL2, and so it does give Zagreb a bit of a, chance to actually leap up to that NPL1 level, potentially.
Spot on. I think, look, just to add to that, I mean, Jets been an A-League setup, very difficult to play against, very sharp, very good training every day. They're very, very good.
They didn't lose one game all season.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we had them 0-0. We had some good chances. They scored in the 92nd minutes against us, but we won't get into that. But look, they went up, and Mounties is a big money club, so they've got a lot of funding through the sponsorship. So they probably have the biggest wage bill in the league. So those two have gone up. I think the two coming down, Dunbar and Nepean, don't have the money and the players that those two did. So I think next year's a really open competition, which is exciting for us, particularly because we finished strong. And, we're going to keep our players and our cores there, and we want to add some key pieces. So, I mean, I touched a lot on youth and what the expectations are there for the next couple of years, but, we expect to be in a battle next year, and we want to be pushing in that top 5 and battling for promotion. And if we're not, then it's not good enough. There's a couple of things we need to do, but there's 2 or 3 key areas that we need to address. And if we address that and address it well, then there's no reason why we shouldn't be in a battle next year to have a crack.
And you mentioned you're getting a lot of calls from players, but look, there's probably a few coaches that you're looking for as well, right?
Spot on. It's the biggest challenge. I mean, don't get me started on that. It is our biggest challenge now. NPL1 seem to have 5 coaches for every team, and they've got they must have unlimited resources, but there is a bit of a shortage of coaches, and a couple of ones that we spoke to last year to bring in ended up going to NPL1, so maybe we're going for the top. But it's such an important thing. I mean, our squad is ready. It's not a project. It's not to come in and start rebuilding. Our squad is ready, so we need someone coming in that's ready to hit the ground running and actually take us there pretty quickly, so we don't have time to start rebuilding, going through different phases. It's someone that comes in is so key because we have a squad we believe is ready to go. So, we're in discussions at the moment, and we hope to get that wrapped up in the coming weeks.
Awesome. And are you raring to go for the tourney next week, Paul?
We are.
How are you going to go there? What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, tourney is always good fun. I think, it's a decent draw for us. I mean, I think the Victorian team's obviously having home court advantage, if that's what you want to call it. They'll be tough and they'll be very, very strong. I think we got Dandenong and Strathmore there. So, look, it's not the worst draw for us. It's not too bad. I think first game against Strathmore there on a Thursday night is going to be a big one. So, want to get off to a good start. Last year, to be fair, we made semis last year and we had a very young squad and we were a bit depleted there. So, we did well. But this year, we're coming in with a bit of a deeper squad, which is good, a lot more first grade experience. So, we're excited. I think it's good fun. We have had a bit of a gap between obviously when the season finishes, as always. So training once a week, just trying to keep a bit fit. But look, we'll have a crack and yeah, it'll be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paulie, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and we appreciate learning and finding out what's going on with Zagreb. And look, the way it's grown. I think I was talking to your dad on the weekend. Basically, like you mentioned, there were probably about 150, 160 players just 6 years ago, and now we're up to, like you mentioned, up to about 500-600, which is just phenomenal growth. And credit to you and your family for all they've done for Zagreb, and of course the committee and everyone else. There's a lot of volunteers. Everyone's a true family club, right?
Thank you for coming.
No, thanks guys. Appreciate you having me anytime.
Good on you, and can't wait for season 2025. This one's just finished, and we're already in post-season blues, waiting for 2025.
Already working on it. There you go. So,
already, mate. Absolutely.
Good on you, Paul. Thanks for joining us here on the OzCro Soccer Show. We wish you all the best, and certainly all the best down at down in Melbourne for the Australian-Croatian Soccer Tournament.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you there.
Good on you.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul GAGRO, the technical director of Zagreb Hurstville. It was a great chat, that actually, and really, really interesting to see the behind the scenes of what happens in the life of a technical director. It never ever stops, does it, Ante?
No, it doesn't stop for you and me, so it doesn't stop for them either.
That's right. Why should they all have the good life if we
it's great. It's great. And it's good, the planning, and obviously, when you've got limited resources, and that's something, I've actually been speaking to different clubs about the different levels of resources, like when you go to NPL level, and then you're going, 30-round season, like for the youth and for seniors at NPL2 level, and plus you got all the cup games, etc. It's a big undertaking. Plus you got to, obviously work within your, budgets and within your resourcing. So it's,
I'm sure. Look, like yourself, like myself, I think at this time of year we all start to get depressed because the season's over. We say we want a break, and we probably do need a break. But at the end of the day, we'd love it if we could go 52 weeks of the year, not just 30 weeks of the year. But you know what? Behind that, there's an enormous amount of work that I guess a lot of people don't get to see. So, look. One of those things that a lot of happens as well behind the scenes, is the work in the off season as well. So kudos to all of the committee members, the officials, the coaches, even the players that do so much work now in the off season in preparation for next year. But we're going to take a very short break, and when we return, mate, it's pretty much time to wrap up our penultimate episode for 2025, and we'll have a look at next season's season finale. Don't go away, folks. It's the OzCro Soccer Show. Welcome back, and that's it pretty much for tonight. But before we do go, obviously next week is our big pre-tournament edition. It's also our season finale. And I guess, Ante, this is a good time to just have a quick look at the tournament, the structures, I guess. Tournament Division 1, first of all. 2 groups of 5 teams. This is a really good one. This is going to be a top quality competition. Group A, Group of Death with O'Connor Knights, Sydney United, Adelaide, Croatia. Home side, St Albans, Dinamo, and the Melbourne Knights. And Group B, Ante, if you want to go through that.
Canberra, Croatia, of course, who are in the grand final this weekend. So, who knows? They could still be celebrating, or they could be on fire to want to win another trophy. You got Hurstville Zagreb, as mentioned, with Captain Paul GAGRO, who will be keen to, bring home a trophy himself. Strathmore split, Dandenong City and North Geelong Warriors. So it's going to be, massive Group A and Group B.
Yeah, and
then
the women's competition, we've got Canberra, Croatia, Dandenong City, North Geelong Warriors, St Albans, Dinamo, and Strathmore split. There's only one group of 5, no semi-finals. It's simply the top 2 that go into the final.
Fantastic. Yeah, and you've got the Masters, you've got the veterans, you've got lots of football that particular weekend. It's only next weekend. It's not this weekend, but the weekend after. Jeez, can't believe it's already 20 time.
Yeah, no, that's right. Folks, for more updated news with regards to the tournament, tune into Dinamo TV this Thursday night. And just a reminder, next week, Dinamo TV will come out on the Wednesday, not on the Thursday, because on Thursday, it's already tournament time. So everyone will be at
yeah, right, you'll be
all right. Yes, there will be match. I've been challenged. I've been challenged to have a couple of Chavape rolls, haven't I?
Don't drop any this time, okay?
Folks, on that very what's the word, jovial exit, we're going to say farewell. We're going to bid you farewell, and we're going to see your company, or hopefully your company, next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good luck to Newcastle, Croatia, and